Hello and welcome to day one of Replenish, helping you to find grace or finding grace through replenishing. So what does that mean? So we've already talked about in the first week, how we can find grace through using our breath. And then last week, we looked at how we can find grace through stillness, right? And both of those involved honoring pauses that we need to take, right? Honoring the pause between the inhale and the exhale and the exhale and the inhale. And honoring the pause, the moments of time on our mat that we should pause, and before we come onto our mat and after we come onto our mat. And this week we're looking at replenish. So replenish meaning in order to be in a healthy physical, mental, and spiritual state, we need to make sure we nourish our body appropriately for that. So things like hydration, proper diet, and rest. So the first thing that I'd like to talk about is proper diet, and then we'll look at replenish in the sense of hydration, and then we'll spend the remainder of the days examining rest, and in particular Shavasana. So today looking at replenish in the sense of nourishment. And so this is thinking about, what we eat in the daytime in order to nourish ourselves appropriately for our mat practice. That's what I'm looking at here, because this is all about how we can bring this to our mat space. So depending on the time of the day you practice, right? You might be practicing first thing in the morning when you wake up. You might be practicing on your way home from work. You might be squeezing in an asana practice on a lunch hour, or maybe you're doing a practice in the evening before you get ready for bed. That's going to determine where you're at with eating in the daytime. And that makes a big difference as to how your practice will be. So for an example, if you have a practice in the evening time, sometime after dinner, meaning, a 7 o'clock practice or an 8 or an 8:30 in the evening practice, you've had dinner before you've come into class, most likely, because you've worked all day or you've been busy all day, and you need to have something to eat before you come in. Otherwise, you won't have the energy in order to do that. The question is what should you eat, right? You want to make sure that you don't eat at least an hour before you practice, but for a better result, you might want to make sure that you eat maybe 2 hours before practice. But more importantly, what you eat will determine that. For an example, you don't want to eat anything too heavy, right? You want to make sure that you eat something that's going to be easy to digest. That's what that means, right? So too heavy means it's complex and it's going to take your body a lot of time to break down in the system. You want to eat something that's light and easy for your body to digest, like fruits and vegetables, and simple grains, something in that nature, something that's going to be enough to fill you and sustain you, but at the same time, something that's not going to block your digestive tract. The reason for this is because when you're doing your asana practice, your digestive tract is being open and stimulated. For an example, sun salutation, like we looked at in that first week of breath. When you're moving through sun salutation, whether it's classical sun salutation or modern sun salutation, one of the main functions or purposes of sun salutations is to open up that digestive system. And so if you're opening up the digestive system and your digestive system is trying to digest a complex, heavy meal, then you're going to end up with pains. You'll feel really sluggish on your mat. Doing back bends will be challenging for you. You might not be able to do, forward folds, so it will impede your mat practice. If you are practicing in the morning time when you wake up, depending on how late in the morning, you know, if it's within an hour or two of you waking up, the better option is, you know, making sure you have your fluids to be hydrated. Maybe have something light if you need to eat before you come in, like some fruit. But you don't want to eat anything too dense, right? You don't want to, you know, sit and have a big bowl of oatmeal and then come into a practice. That's gonna stick. You know, you eat oatmeal to have something hearty, right? You don't want to have anything too hearty before you again open up your body. So you want to make sure that you keep that in mind when you come into a practice. What are you going to eat? If you are doing a midday practice, then make sure you have your lunch after your practice. If you are coming in before your on your way home from work, have a snack. Right? Have a snack, but again, making sure that that snack is appropriate, that it's not anything too heavy, that you'll be able to easily digest it so that you don't feel starving during lunch, starving during your practice, that you have the energy you need to do your asana practice, but that won't impede it. So, in general, you want to try to practice on an emptier stomach, or a stomach that's not in a body that's not in the process of digesting anything too complex. If you happen to practice after you've had something to eat, you want to keep that in mind as you're moving through your asanas, because this will have an impact on how far you can go in an asana, right? It will create some limitations. For an example, your back bends won't be able to open as big as you may normally be able to. You might not have quite as enough energy to really flow through quickly through anything. And you might feel just, you know, that little bit sluggish, that you're going to take things down, maybe modify some poses. So when you eat, make sure that you eat appropriate to whatever you're doing. In this case, we're talking about an asana practice. If you can eat after your practice, that's a preferred option. And if you're going to eat before your practice, then keeping it something simple and light so your body can digest it quickly and easily. Tomorrow, we will look at hydration and how hydration is fundamentally important for your overall health, but how that impacts your practice, when you should hydrate in order for an optimal practice. Have a fantastic day, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.